Came in clutch. That's how one Howard University student described their personalized financial aid video. And honestly, we think that says it all. These personalized financial aid videos deliver clarity, spark connection, and give students the confidence to take that next step towards enrollment. I'm Anna Marie Paoli, Vice President of Partnerships with Allied Pixel. We're grateful to have you with us today. Our featured guest is Kiana Scales of Howard University. Thank you for joining us, Kiana. A quick note before we get started. We're going to be using the Q&A box for all comments and questions. If we can address them during the conversation, we will. If not, we did save time for the end. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bill Haley, our president and founder of Allied Pixel.
Thank you, Ann. I started Allied Pixel 33 years ago, and our focus from day one has been to help schools tell their stories in engaging ways by combining video with technology. And what I'm hearing today is that students have no lack of information, but what's lacking is real connection with schools. And that's exactly what personalized financial aid videos do by making the financial aid offer more understandable and more friendly. You may have noticed that our friends at Ancora released a study this morning on affordability. And it talks about moving from confusion to clarity in financial aid messaging. And I was happy to see that about 50% of the schools that were polled plan to add personalized financial videos to their communication mix in the future. So you are in very good company here today. On a personal note, my son Graham is going off to college this fall. So I'm seeing all of this from the parents' perspective for the first time. And it has been very cool to see his personalized videos coming through. I want to thank Kiana for joining us today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing how personalized financial aid videos are helping Howard University connect with your students. So thank you for being here today, Kiana, and I'll hand it off to Tom.
Thanks, Bill. I'm Tom Mikowski. I'm VP of Business Development at Higher Ed Partnerships with Allied Pixel. I've been with Allied Pixel for about 7 years. And prior to my time with Allied Pixel, I worked for a small private college in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Some of you might know this college, Aquinas College. And it was great to be on campus. I was on campus for well over 20 years and had a great experience there. And I was always enamored with the technology piece of recruitment. Loved the board meetings, loved the cabinet meetings and stuff, but I really loved the technology piece and recruiting students. And so it's been a great working with Bill and the team here at Allied Pixel and working with companies or colleges around the country. We partner with Ancora, RNL. We used to partner with RNL, and RNL is merged in with Ancora, and so they are our partner when it comes to personalized financial aid videos. And so we work in partnership with them, and we'll talk a little bit more as we go through. But so excited to share some insights on this and what colleges are doing, and to hear Kiana's story as well. So I'll pass it over to you, Kiana.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. First, many thanks to Bill and Tom and Anne-Marie for the opportunity to join you this afternoon. I am Kiana Scales. I have the pleasure of serving as Howard's Senior Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Success. I am entering into my 10th month at the university. Throughout my 25-year plus career, I've had the opportunity to work at a number of institutions. My alma mater, North Carolina State, North Carolina A&T, the University of Minnesota, Xavier University of Louisiana, all of which have very different personalities, flavors, sizes, missions, et cetera. But the one thing that I know that we all have in common is the need and the desire to make information as simple as possible for our prospective and admitted student population, as well as those who support them, be it family, counselors, et cetera. And to do that in a way that meets the moment, meaning understanding how students consume information and meeting them where they are relative to, in this instance, financial aid data. So I'm excited about this conversation and appreciate again the opportunity to join you this afternoon.
Thank you, Kiana. You have a wealth of knowledge. And as a decision maker, why do you believe personalized financial aid videos matter? Why are they important to students and families?
Sure. I think for me, understanding that cost is a driving decision for all of our students, be it the most affluent to the ones that are the highest need in your prospect pool as well as your admit pool. And so being able to clearly articulate what resources you're able to provide very early on in the process allows for informed decision making down the road. And so again, meeting students where they are. We know that data shows students consume video content in a way that is far surpassing anything that is perhaps an email form. So, death by email is the quickest way to lose engagement. And so, being able to really lean into the video format to disseminate very clear information to families was of critical importance to me.
Wonderful. Tom, would you like to share some of your experience as you've worked with other schools that are using personalized financial aid videos?
Sure, I'll just share a few comments. Why colleges, I think, are choosing personalized financial aid video. I think part of it, Bill, you talked about the, college affordability. It was interesting. Strata came out with a study earlier this month, and to no surprise of anybody, one of the key findings that was the headline is that, financial aid and college costs are confusing. And it's like, yeah, we kind of know that. And so we are providing that clarity as Kiana said. Part of the reason why some colleges do it is the College Cost Transparency Initiative. There's hundreds of colleges that are out there that are a part of that initiative. Part of that initiative talks about embracing innovation and new technologies, trying to make things dynamic and interactive where you can. And I think these videos do that exactly. And so whether you're a part of that, your college is part of that college cost transparency initiative or not, I think all of us strive to make these really clear and less confusing for our constituents because we do know that so many people are choosing colleges or a huge influence on the decision is cost. I think the timeliness in the explanation is very helpful for a lot of institutions. I know myself, having been a VP of enrollment at a smaller institution, one of the things we try to do is, hey, let's try to have a phone conversation or an in-person conversation with everybody and walk through their financial aid offer. Well, the reality is that that's like impossible to do. I mean, that is the reality of it. Um, Everyone knows that's an enrollment, how hard it is to get people on the phone for a conversation, not alone in person to have that conversation. So the timeliness of it is great because every time you've got 1,000 awards that are going out, all those students are going to hear that explanation at the same time on their particular financial aid offer. And I think the explanation, the consistency in the explanation is also really important. And so myself, I might be on a staff where, I had an entry level counselor who is a first year counselor, and then I've got a senior associate director who's been at the institution for 10 or 15 years. Those conversations, as much as we want them to be consistent and the same, because of their experience, those conversations are different. And so having that consistency in the explanation is also something I hear from institutions that are deploying financial aid videos, and rightfully so.
Right. And a lot of people may not know exactly what is involved in a personalized financial aid video. And don't worry, we will show you Howard University's video. But before we get into that, I mean, in the title, it is called a personalized financial aid video. So we are able to do this at scale for each student. So as Tom was saying that, the counselors may not be able to reach everyone by phone, but they do have access to this video. And when they do contact their counselor, which you'll see in the video, we're giving them access to their particular counsel. They can contact them and have more deliberate conversations. So, Tom, how about we talk about the deliverables within a personalized video, and then we'll move on to showing the video.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk a little bit about that as Bill pulls up a slide here. So what is a personalized financial aid video? As you can see on the screen right now, and we've got a couple black bars there, Bill, just so you know. There you go. Great. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that includes scenes for every type of age. So in the listing of that. So think think about this personalized financial aid offer video being a more dynamic way of clarifying your financial aid offer to the student versus something that is more flat, right? As an electronic, or many schools still send out award offers through the mail. But we are really going to replicate that financial aid award offer. So if you look at that, all of your institutional aid is going to be covered, both merit and need-based aid. We're going to talk about state aid. We're going to talk about federal aid. We're going to talk about loans and college work study, um, sub and unsub loans and plus loans and all of that. So it's all encompassing. So don't think about this as a general explanation. This truly is explaining your individual award to you. Now, you look on the other side, in the white, on the left-hand side, what does this really entail? Of course, we're going to walk through the financial aid offer details, talk about the whole total package, make sure that that net cost scene is in there so that we can break it down. Here's the cost of the institution, if it's tuition, room and board. What is your gift aid? What is going to be your net cost before you take out a loan, after you take out a loan? So really providing that kind of clarity. And also, you can include payment plan scenes in there as well. Payment plan scenes could, if you have a payment plan where you've got equal installments of 10 monthly payments, or so many schools have 4 equal installments each semester. The video can actually do the calculation for you. So again, not every school that we work with has that, but many schools do have that particular scene, and it's very helpful to the students. There's custom award scenes that are in there. I know, Kiana, with Howard, you have like a DMV scholarship, right? If your student is in the district, or they're in Maryland, or they're in Virginia, only those students that are getting that scholarship are going to see that, but you can really call that out. I think what's great about it, a lot of institutions use customized scenes for alumni awards, or sibling scholarships that they have. So there's like, oh, we're so fantastic that you're continuing the family tradition here at Howard or whatever institution you're at. So I think that's a great way to use the custom award scenes to get a little more value on your video. So speaking of value, so the value prop scenes are also a part of that. You get 4 value prop scenes within these videos that are pretty standard. So what are the different value props? Many colleges will have a value prop that is that talks about a student's major. So to be able to talk even briefly, say, again, we hear you, we know you're interested in engineering, we know you're interested in nursing, and if you've got a great soundbite on that academic program, fantastic. We're going to put this, because remember, this is more than just a financial aid explanatory video. This is an enrollment yield video too. So those value props are really important to remind students why they should choose your institution. But other things like that colleges use that we work with, location. If somebody's in state versus an out of state, it's all about messaging. So you think about the data you have on a student outside of financial aid, and think about the messaging that you want to differentiate based on what you know about them. And so you want to maybe speak something clearly about somebody who's out of state. So for you, Kiana, maybe to be able to talk about your location and how key it is really important. We're probably going to see that in a video that we show. First gen, we do see a lot of colleges using first gen. So if there's a flag in there and and you're collecting the fact that they're a first gen student, they can see that in a video. Say, here we hear you, we know that you're a first gen student, but we have the resources that are going to help you. We're going to help you choose classes. We're going to have student support systems in place for you. So that whole feeling of being connected and taking a little bit of anxiety away from the student is important with that first gen scene. The counselor scene, contact scene is important as well, because it provides another level of personalization. The hardest thing for anybody is to like get something in the mail or get an email and then You try to call up. I've done this before. I've got two students that have graduated, two kids that have graduated from college. So I've gone through this as a parent too. And when you're trying to call an office and you can't reach somebody right away that can help you out, frustration and anxiety builds in. Or if you just email a general financial aid, if you're not getting to it instantaneously, again, anxiety and frustration. So it's kind of nice here if your counselors are assigned a particular student, the student can see the scene right in the video, and they know exactly who they're going to email or call to get the answers that they need. Next steps is another part of the video. Extremely important to have these call to action buttons, and those can be dynamic as well. So for instance, if we know that a student has deposited, they're not going to see a submit deposit button. But if they haven't deposited, that's the first thing you want them to do, because all these videos exist on a branded landing page with these call to action buttons. So important to get students to the next step. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, every financial aid administrator that's on the call right now is saying, well, what about revised videos? Because not only are we going to have that initial video, but what happens if there was a revised video? And the good news is that we have alternate scenes to let them know we understand this is a revised video, new information has come in, here's a new financial aid offer based on that new information. So all of that is in part of a standard financial aid video.
Yeah, thank you for that setup. And that really goes back to how I started this off. It brings clarity, connection, and confidence. Each student will get a challenge question, so their personal information isn't easily accessible. We do have strict security standards. Bill, if you could just pull up the landing page, so when any school uses this, the student will see a landing page. They'll have their challenge question. Once they answer the challenge question, they'll have the landing page. They'll get the option for the video, which we're going to show you next. And you can see the call to action buttons that Kiana chose, and we can talk about why she chose those particular ones. You'll also see that there's a thumbs up and thumbs down, which gives us immediate student feedback, which we're going to go into later. And Kiana's going to tell us how she is utilizing both the thumbs up and the thumbs down feedback to further financial aid communication, clarity, and confidence. So Bill, you want to play the video, please?
You bet.
Well, before we do, if I may, just highlight a few things. So as you're watching, I want to just kind of share our perspective entering into the process. So we always think about the purpose of recruitment being to help students to visualize themselves on campus. And so being really intentional about the imagery that we were able to select, both highlighting location, some of the high profile visitors that are regularly on campus is a key differentiator between Howard and some of our other competitor institutions. Also really highlighting some of the faculty that are well renowned and highly celebrated in community is something that I think is of critical importance. And so you kind of see these Easter eggs embedded throughout the video. So as you're watching, I'm just kind of paying attention not only to the students and the smiling faces, but also the engagement level, the comprehensive level of experiences that we attempted to showcase, and also paying critical importance to the people who are disseminating information in the classroom.
That's exactly true. And Kiana, with your wealth of knowledge, you were very, very deliberate. And I think everyone will see that it comes across very clearly. And we can see it from the students' feedback and their parents' feedback on how well this video was received. So great job to you and your team.
All
All right, Bill.
Hi, Future Bison. Congratulations on your admission to Howard University. Prepare to pursue excellence at the highest level and do it in a place that has defined it. At Howard, culture, intellect, and ambition aren't aspirations, they're expectations. This is more than a campus. It's a legacy you inherit and a lineage you advance. This video contains important information about your financial aid offer and how it applies to your cost of attendance for the 2026-2027 academic year. Your financial aid offer totals over $22,000. You've been awarded a merit-based scholarship in recognition of your academic achievements. The total is $17,000. Please see your offer letter for more details. This brings your total gift aid, or money you don't need to repay, to $17,000. You are eligible to receive a federal direct unsubsidized loan. This is borrowed money that will have to be repaid with interest. This loan starts accruing interest as soon as the funds are dispersed into your student account. Payments are not due until after graduation or if you drop below half-time enrollment. Repayment plans vary based on your individual needs. To obtain this loan, you must complete entrance counseling and sign your master promissory note online at studentaid.gov. Bringing it all together, here are your remaining costs for the upcoming academic year. Also remember that in addition to the direct cost, you will incur personal expenses, such as travel, books, and supplies. We understand that affordability is important, which is why we offer payment options for you and your family to cover the balance owed. You can pay your balance in full each semester or enroll in our monthly payment plan to divide your balance owed into smaller payments each semester. If opting for the payment plan, please note there is a small fee to enroll each semester, and that the payments are based on when you enroll by. And if you're looking to earn additional aid, you can also consider applying for outside scholarships. Numerous organizations sponsor students in pursuit of their education. We encourage you to explore third-party sponsorship through your personal and professional networks. Another option is for you and your family to borrow through a Federal Direct Plus loan or to pursue private loan options to cover your balance. The Plus loan is available to parents of dependent undergraduate students. To find more information or to apply for a Plus loan, visit studentaid.gov. There are a variety of lenders who offer educational loans to support students and families in pursuit of college degree. To find out more information about available lenders, visit the ELM Select website. At Howard University, excellence is taught and discovered. Ranked among the nation's top 20 for undergraduate teaching, and standing alone as the only HBCU with R1 research classification, we offer an unmatched academic experience where mentorship, inquiry, and impact begin from day one. In the College of Engineering and Architecture, students combine hands-on learning with research and design to prepare for impactful careers in engineering, computer science, and the built environment. You'll work alongside faculty on innovative projects, develop technical and entrepreneurial skills, and graduate ready to enter the workforce or pursue advanced study. Choosing Howard is choosing to invest in yourself. Here you gain access to the nation's capital, an elite global network, and a cultural experience that prepares you to lead with purpose and impact. There is only one Howard University, and the return on this investment lasts a lifetime. Learn more about your loan options at studentaid.gov. Contact your financial aid counselor with any questions regarding your financial aid offer. At Howard University, excellence is expected, purpose is cultivated, and bold minds are prepared to build what comes next. Now's the time to secure your place. Submit your enrollment deposit by clicking on the link below.
Thanks for sharing that, Bill. Kiana, that was a fantastic video. It encompassed not only the cost of the school, but what their outside options were to help them cover those costs. You said you were very specific in imagery, the way you spoke to them, the voice. And as we know with video, there's a 90% retention rate with video in comparison to just 10% in text. So yes, they may have gotten a lot of the same information in the letter that you sent. And this is a layering piece or a companion piece, I believe is what you called it. And I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that, as well as the other strategies. You knew that this innovative tool was available, and you said you had a math problem that you needed to solve. And since you run your own restaurant, you knew exactly what to do. Um, I love that. So please share a little bit more about the layers, the types of aid, the imagery that is still building on that connection of why Howard,
Mhm.
and then we'll get into feedback as well.
Sure. So I think it's first important to note that this is just one aspect of an overall financial literacy campaign, right? So we all have the requirements that are outlined by the federal government with net price calculators, the disclosures that come with the college financing plan, formerly the shopping sheet. All of those things we know students and families will have at their disposal to review. What we don't know and what we can control for with this video product is the opportunity to really break down the salient points and to help families understand the math problem, right? So, how do you make the math work? Is this an affordable option for my family? Understanding that students have more choices now than ever in terms of where they will pursue higher ed, and we don't take that for granted. And so coming into the space, I did spend 3 years in the consulting world. And one of the common problems amongst all of my clients was how do we make this as seamless as possible, as clear as possible to our prospective students and families. And so being able to lean into video content, underscoring, again, key differentiators, subliminally highlighting, again, what a Howard education and experience will be. So you see things like Black Greek letter organizations, many of whom were founded on our campus. You see Nicole Hannah Jones engaged in conversations with her students, Pulitzer Prize winning faculty who's that accessible. You see Pete Buttigieg just kind of hanging out with students who are presenting their research. And that's not something that is common across most educational experiences. So, really being able to highlight those aspects were really important. And so, you have the overt recruitment language that you're able to embed in scripts, but you're also able to, again, underscore that with visual imagery that does not seem as overt, but is still very impactful to the student decision.
Thank you. Tom, do you want to talk about anything else? Maybe
Yeah,
about that 72% slide and connecting with students and families?
yeah. Before we do that, I just wanted to make mention too in this video that you saw. It's obviously it's very individualized, right? It's created with that student's offer in mind. And so every offer is different. This one that we just showed doesn't necessarily include the state aid. It didn't have Pell Grant, didn't have SEOG, didn't have a work study because that student wasn't eligible for that. And so those components will be, if they're eligible for it, they're going to see those things. And so the videos could be 3 minutes in length. They could be around 4 minutes and some, like the one we saw, they could be 5 minutes in length. Um, at the end of the day, it's there to be explanatory. And one thing I do want to mention, because once in a while, I hear this not so much from financial aid people I work with, but sometimes from enrollment or marketing people. It's like, oh wait, that video seems a little bit long, and the first thing I ask is like, if you're a financial aid or a VP of enrollment, how much time do you want that student and parent to spend with your financial aid offer, electronic form or in the mail? How much time do you hope that they spend on that? And they'll say, gosh, I would hope they spend like a half an hour on it, or at least 15 or 20 minutes. And then I'm like, that's the point. We can get all that information and explain it in a real clear way and still do it in roughly 4 to 5 minutes and make sure all of that information pertains to that student. So I do throw that out there. Certainly, there's a place for other types of videos, the hype videos and things like that. Congratulations on your admission or search videos that they do, but this one really serves a purpose and it does it well.
Great job. Do you want to get into the next slide, Tom?
Sure. I think this is one of the things I had mentioned earlier and there's a lot of different reports out there. This one was from a 2025 report on prospective family engagements. And of course, 72% of families have ruled out college because of costs. And this probably is not surprising for anybody that's on this webinar, but it just shows you the importance of the clarity here. We talked earlier, one of the key things was hard to reach students by phone. I talked about that earlier. That is really difficult, and the timeliness of making sure that this arrives to all the students as soon as their award is ready. And that kind of flows into not having enough staff. Um, the third bullet point there, the ability to connect with students in a compelling and individualized way. I think that the word compelling is so important, right? Because when you get something that's flat and just I've been around college admissions long enough where I remember when it was just a 8.5 sheet of paper with a handbook that was sent out, and they've got to do all the interpretation of all of that. And then we kind of morphed at my time at Aquinas, we kind of morphed into what I called a four-color yield piece. So not only the financial aid offer, but we tried to put in some of those key value props in there, but they were the same for every student, and they certainly weren't dynamic. And so this is really the next evolution of giving a real dynamic award offer. Um, the student athletes providing clarity, I do understand that. I worked for a smaller private school, worked with a lot of D3 students that were looking at D3 schools and stuff. Sometimes there is that lack of understanding when you're working with coaches and admission staff exactly how your financial aid is going to work out. One of the biggest things, though, and it comes back to that call to action. So having that video live on a landing page, you're going to see some of this in the dashboard information that we're going to share in Kiana's dashboard at Howard specifically. But most of the time, even when you're seeing a regular enrollment type video, there is no call to action here. And it's really important because think about when the financial aid offer is going out. If you're sending this out in December, January, February, March, we know that these are key months that students are making their decisions. So yes, you want to explain the financial aid piece, but you want to build in those value props and then give them mechanisms to take the next step, whether that's visiting campuses, submitting an enrollment deposit, whatever that next step is for you, to make sure that you do that. And we can do that in a dynamic way.
Yeah, and that brings us back to how I started this out when that student said came in clutch. Perfect timing, perfect information, made them feel like this was possible. And we've heard from other students, and we're going to get into the dashboard and see more positive and a few negative responses as well. And we're not afraid to address them. We're here for it all. But without this information, you know, you can't really move forward with effective communication. So all of this is great. And Kiana's going to get into how she is strategizing with their admitted student days and different ways that the clues from these video responses are helping them. So let's get into that. We'll get into the dashboard. Bill, if you don't mind bringing that up. Okay, Tom, do you want to start off and give us a highlight reel and then
Sure,
Kiana, you
absolutely.
chime in with your early results, which we're super happy to see and hear about as a first year school with us.
Yeah, so let me walk through. This is standard dashboard. You can see up top the number of videos that were created, then the ones that were texted. So just part of that initial deliverable is to send out a text message and let students be able to click on that link. Ian had mentioned the challenge question that you have to have, enter that information in, and then get in to see your video. On the left-hand side, you can see that new packages are tracked. So how many new packages were sent? What was the unique viewership on this? And we can see with Kiana, it's about 47% now. So we haven't gone through the entire cycle yet, but we're already at a 47% viewership, which is amazing. So I always tell colleges, like, or at least I've heard from colleges, they go, gosh, when we compare this to other admitted communication that we have, this communication far exceeds that engagement, which is absolutely what we want to see in terms of a financial aid video. We also see the total number of views there at the bottom left of 14,537, which tells us if 7,000 unique views, 14,000 total views, most students are watching their video twice on average. So to watch it 2 times, and we'll see that a lot. Students will go into their video, they'll watch it, then maybe the parent will watch it, or they'll watch it together, or they might watch it when the award first comes out in January. And then as more awards come in and offers come in, then they might go back to watch it again as they're considering you with other institutions. Being able to track the revised packages, you can see there with the revised packages over 1,200 total views with that. And then the call to action buttons on the right. So you can see all those. And why is there 5 different call to action buttons if there's only 3 buttons that show? Is because they can be dynamic. And for you, Kiana, you can see that over 3,800 students have taken action. They watch the video. Some might go to the website or close out of it, but 3,800 people, that's a lot of people that said, you know what, I'm gonna go and take the next steps, which is super, super important. And you can see the top one, the submit enrollment deposit. I'm sure you like to see that. 1,489 people is like, okay, the time is right. Let's get you to submit your enrollment deposit. You can certainly see when the awards go out with these big spikes, and that has to do with the volume of videos that are going out. And of course, the more volume, because these are set on a weekly basis. So you send out a big batch at the beginning or a couple big batches. Then after that, you send out weekly ones, and maybe you'll have a spike where you'll get a big batch of videos out. So that can be tracked on a daily basis. And then there's a link in there that goes into the survey results. And it's that thumbs up, thumbs down, and they get a screen. What did you like about the video, or what didn't you like about the video? And we're able to get some information there. We've only had that ability for the last year. It's been fantastic because it's great to see analytics like this, but how does it make the student and parent feel when they're watching a video like this? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So as we go into the next slide here, we've got other slides that we understand you probably can't read this on your screen, but just to take a look, in terms of feedback, most students are going to go to the call to action buttons and not leave the feedback, and that's fine. We tend to see 90 to 95% thumbs up. In Howard University, so far, almost 94% of the people have a thumbs up, and we'll take a look at some of those comments. But there's also some that are negative comments. There's 6 negative comments. And what we see with most institutions is it's like, the total aid package is still not going to be enough for me to attend. Or, boy, I'm only getting a $10,000 scholarship. Some other schools give me more. It's good information. And maybe, Kiana, this is a good time to maybe talk about maybe some of those negative responses. And then we'll go into a couple screens that show some of the positive feedback we've got as well.
Sure. So you've heard the saying, all press is good press. All feedback is good feedback because it informs strategy, it informs your communications. And for me, it's just as important to understand what is not resonating with our target population as what is. I think the most important thing is that we were able to provide, to your point, an opportunity to make an informed decision. And that's all you can ever want, particularly with regards to financial aid. The result is a firmer deposit. So students are making the decision to confirm their enrollment, understanding exactly how that math problem will look for their family. So you mentioned the number of clicks in the video and the viewership. That to me implies that this is not just the student looking at this. This is the family sitting around the computer or the phone, just really digesting what it is that we have to offer. My goal is always to make it easy for students to do business with the institution. And that extends with understanding what our best foot forward looks like in terms of financial aid in this instance, and then being able to allow the student and the family to make the informed decision whether or not that's unfortunately good or not good enough for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Bill, if you can pull the next slides up. We've got a couple of slides in here. This is straight from Kiana's dashboard too at Howard, and just some of the comments that we get. So we'll track comments that come, through the original send, and then also many colleges put this in their admission portal. And the benefit of an admissions portal, being to see the video in there, is that because they're already logging in to that portal, we don't have to go through a challenge page link again in order to see the video. And so we track comments through both sources. Now you can see here just some of the great comments, like this is a great video. This is a great visual journey experience and detailed. And that kind of speaks, I think, Kiana, to your point where you're trying to be really intentional with the visuals that you're showing. Very informative and helpful. It clarified the scholarships, grants, loans, and financial responsibilities needed to attend Howard next year. Thank you. The video provided great informative, tailored information to my daughter. And that's exactly what we're doing. And so we just see a ton of these comments come through. If we go to the next screen, we see a few more. So you just get a sense of some of these other ones. I appreciate the video being personalized. It was extremely helpful. I love the personalization to the student. Great job. Very clear and customized. It was clear the amount of funds that I received and still owe. And so when we hear from the students that you're providing the clarity and eliminating the confusion, it's great to see that instantaneously when you're doing your award. Because if you're not seeing that, then it's like, let's go back to the drawing board and what do we need to do to make it more clear?
Right. And the negative one of the ones that we had seen was they didn't feel as though they were receiving enough scholarship and they wanted to talk to somebody. Great. How can we help you? How can we find more aid for you in order to get you aboard? So with that, Kiana, we talked about, I mean, this is all knowledge, power, makes your next communication more effective. Let's talk about how you are working with your team to update your communications to make the the days and the events suitable according to this feedback.
Sure. So I think I'll go back to the imagery in the video, and you saw a lot of graduation photos, right? So outcome driven. The purpose of this experience isn't to just get families in the door for the first year, but through the duration and support through persistence towards degree completion. That involves a lot of complex scenarios, and whether you're first gen or multi-generation college, really understanding what is necessary for the 4-year picture is what was most important to me. You mentioned conversations and students calling. We definitely are inundated with students who would like an immediate answer. And so being able to at least provide and put our best foot forward, I think is something that was really important. Again, making sure that we were clear and consistent, but equipping, to your point earlier, Tom, our financial aid counselors with the common script, the tagline that we're all going to use because we understand how important this decision is for families. I think, too, in terms of advice, is really making sure that you are thinking through not only your script, but in your scenes, but the imagery that you're using. Understanding that, again, you're drawing conclusions subliminally towards outcomes and showcasing students who are highly engaged, and then most importantly, graduating, because that's ultimately what we want to see on our campuses.
Right. I was just thinking about that engagement score as well. Tom, you had mentioned some other schools, how they're also utilizing this video. Some, when they talk to the students, the financial aid counselor actually brings it up. And then I think you said at Coastal Carolina, they were doing something with their Minute Student Day. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, that's one of the things that Amanda Craddock, who's the VP of Enrollment at Coastal Carolina, told me. She said, Tom, I take these videos with me to Admitted Student Day. So if I'm having a one-on-one conversation with parents and students, I'm able to walk through that with them. Admissions counselors are also trained. Like if they having a one-on-one appointment with a student, they can bring up the video right there and in that appointment, walk through that financial aid. So if there's any confusion or whatever, bring up the video, make sure that there's a clear understanding with any questions. So I think that that's really important. I think, Bill, if you go back to Coastal Carolina, well, actually, if we can go back another slide, Bill, in terms of engagement. I do want to bring this up, and one thing I didn't mention earlier that I want to mention because it's really important, because what about this information going back, right? This is like all this great information, but how do, in the dashboard, but how does that get back out to you? The great thing is it's fully exportable back into the institution. There's a download data. It's probably hard to see on this screen, but there's three little dots that says download data, and you can export that in a CSV file or an Excel file and bring all that information back. So I know like Pacific Lutheran University, they bring that data back right into their CRM. I believe they use Slate. They do use Slate. Not even I believe, I know they use Slate. And so their admissions counselors can see who's viewed the video, what call to action buttons that they've clicked on, what their engagement score is. The engagement score is simply the number of views plus the number of call to action buttons that they've clicked on, and to really see where that interest level is for the student that they're talking to. So a lot of value. Didn't want to skip over that piece. And then as we go to Coastal Carolina, because I'm talking about Coastal Carolina, you can see the lift in yield and results. And Kiana will talk a little bit more about that. But that's really important because what we see from institutions is that the lift is usually 2 to 3 times. Students who view the video are at least twice as likely to enroll than those who do not view their personalized financial aid video. And so that's super, super important. Coastal Carolina has done this for multiple years. You can see 40-some% yielded on that saw the video and 20% that didn't. So that 2 times lift. We also track the number of people who click on a call to action button. We know if they click on a call to action button, their yield percentage is even higher. And so for Coastal, 64% of the students who clicked on a call to action button yielded. So that took that 40-some% all the way up to 60, over 60%, which is wonderful. Again, more information your staff has, both on the admission staff and financial aid staff, the better your recruitment's going to be.
Right. And Kiana, you had mentioned that that is even like your housing department is looking at that, what's their engagement score? Did they click on any call to action buttons? And it's just giving you more and more information. So before we get into the operational wins and efficiencies, I believe you had said you'd sent this video out maybe a day or two after the letter. So it is a layering piece. And the other thing that you said, you want people to say yes early.
I did.
So, right, I do too. I want to know, are we together? Or are we moving on?
Correct. I'm super competitive. I want to win. We talked earlier about first in mailboxes and the competitive advantage that comes with being the first, the wow factor. Students tend to lock in because you were the first one to court them, and everyone wants to be courted, right? So being able to lock in early, but most importantly, especially when you're talking about affordability, the runway that you provide to, again, explore payment plan options, explore third-party funding. If this truly is your destination, then apart from what we're able to provide and we showcase in the video, what are the other means to addressing the gap that may exist if, in fact, this is your first choice of university?
Agreed. Very important layering piece, purpose of recruitment, the connection, the clarity, all that goes into a personalized financial aid video. Let's quickly talk about the lift and any advice for other institutions, and then we can get into some questions from the audience. Do you have any, how was it working with us? Be honest. And then what advice would you share with other institutions?
It was horrible. No, it was absolutely phenomenal. You do a lot of the work for us when we are in the thick of our cycle. The last thing that we want to do is an exhaustive checklist to get across the finish line. Again, I came in 10 months ago, and it was at the very beginning of the recruitment cycle. And my team will be the first to tell you that I am not a slow simmer kind of person. I knew that there were things that we immediately needed to address, especially, again, if we're going to win and have the competitive advantage. So being able to select from very intentionally video assets, photos to, again, create the idea of outcomes that we are trying to promote. So my biggest piece of advice is to be intentional there, but also when we launched the videos, we did it right before our first series of admitted student activities. And so we removed the need to ask very kind of generic questions around affordability, and every intentional conversation that we had was just that, being able to personalize and customize the dynamic so that families knew exactly where we were coming from relative to their student. And I think that's really important. We used a lot of the feedback to drive the content for our large admitted student day on campus. So some of the questions that came out of the conversations post launch really informed the sessions that we offered during that day.
Agreed. I mean, you are addressing the elephant in the room, which is the price tag, and why it's worth it and how we can help you get here.
I
You
think
know,
we tend to shy away from that. You know,
I fully agree with you. I am not one to
can't.
brush anything under the rug either.
That's
Let's
right.
address it. Let's move on. See how we can help. The other thing you had mentioned was you wanted a cohesive message, and I
Yes.
think you successfully delivered that with our help. And I thank you. I thank you for choosing us. Your video turned out fantastic. Tom, I know you have a few things to say before we get into the Q&A. We have about 9 minutes left.
Sure. Yeah, I just want really quickly because I know that lift, when you ask about lift, Ian, that is always the big question. And no, since we do this in partnership with Incurred, that there are a consultant that's going to work with the project through it, along with the production team at Allied Pixel. And so you've got a producer, but on both sides you've got expert data people, expert script writers, you have editors, you have voiceover artists, you've got the data people putting the dashboards together. So all of that is meant to be an easy lift. And as I tell folks that, I've been on the admission side, to Kiana's point, like, you don't have that much time to worry about all these little things. Let the Encura Allied Pixel partnership really let that team of experts really make it something that might seem overwhelming, because it's like, wow, an individualized financial aid video for everybody, but to make it very, very manageable, which is really important. The other thing I would mention too, in terms of, advice, be intentional with your value props, be really, what are those key constituents that you really want to go after? If you want to go after an out-of-state student, or you want to get more honor students, those kind of things, make sure that those are value props that are going to be very meaningful within your financial aid video. And then the last thing I would mention before we go into Q&A is just think about a financial aid strategy, a communication strategy. So, Kiana, I know with Howard, you've got this not only going to the incoming students, but to current students as well. And a lot of institutions choose to do it with both, which is great because it provides that consistency. But there's merit-based scholarship videos you can do kind of as a primer to push them towards the FAFSA. There's non-filer videos. We used to do a letter back when I was on campus. We called it the tickler letter, right? Congratulations again, here's your scholarship, but here are the reasons why you should choose, and make sure your information's released to us. So those are some other videos that tie into the full financial aid offer video that colleges should be thinking about. So we can go to Q&A now.
Yeah, we have actually a bunch of questions that have come in, and as we do them, I'm going to share a slide that's got a QR code if anyone would like to schedule a meeting with us to talk about this more in depth. So here it is. And looking at the questions, how are revisions handled? I guess revisions in the financial aid package.
Sure, I'll answer that really, really quick. So you get a standard layout in with that data that needs to be provided for the financial aid video. You already have it because you're doing the financial aid offers, whether electronically or written. The revised videos are actually it's just a flag within that data layout. So if that flag says why, yes, this is a revised video. there's an alternate intro that comes into play. And it says, congratulations again on your admission to Howard University. Your financial aid offer has changed based on new information that we've received. And then it will go into the financial aid and it'll have a different closing as well. So really simple flag that is put in there for the revision videos. It's really important to let people know that URL stays the same, never changes for a student because you don't want confusion. Well, you're looking at my first video or the first offer, I'm looking at the third offer, and that kind of confusion. The same URL, once a revised video comes into place, it overwrites. It'll be that same one, but it'll be the new offer that is that the student will see.
Question for Kiana. Do you plan to make any changes to this video for next year?
I will. We will refresh imagery to ensure that students because we do continuing students, we don't want them to see the same imagery year over year. I think how we manage launch will slightly change. We'll continue to drive through the portal, but to probe students who did not click might be an additional strategy that we may engage in. I love the idea of using the engagement score to really inform how counselors are managing outreach because they don't have the bandwidth to connect with everyone. So perhaps the engagement score would really inform how they approach outreach to their territory.
Yeah, we've had schools use it in both ways where they're looking at people with very high engagement scores because they feel as though they're, closer to get. And then we've had other people who looked at people with super low engagement scores and were able to convert them as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question here. Your video footage is great. Our school has some video, but probably not enough. And I can jump on that one. Allied Pixel is a full service video production company, and we do shoot on college campuses all across the country. We have a very affordable 2-day production package. So for schools that have either some footage but need to supplement it or have no footage at all, we are happy to help shoot that stuff.
And I would mention along with that too is that remember you saw this in the Howard video too. The engineering scene had some photography in there, and so we may put it together with video and photography through it. Obviously, the more video we have, the more lively it is, the more dynamic it is. So,
question: you mentioned CRM integration. We have Slate. Can you talk a little more about how that works?
Yeah, it's really easy because it's exportable. A lot of institutions, they'll just grab the file, they'll create some automation where they'll just grab that information, they'll download it from the dashboard. So you've got it in a CSV or Excel file, and then you just create a program to pull it over and put it into your Slate database. So we do have people that can help with that. We have other institutions that are doing that serve as resources, I should say, if you're looking to integrate that into your system.
Spanish. We have a large Spanish-speaking population. How do you handle, or can you handle a Spanish version of this?
Yeah, we didn't talk about Spanish here. We probably have about 40% of the institutions we work with utilize Spanish. We could really do any language out there. And simply what happens is we'll do the scripting, do all the video work. We have Spanish voiceover artists. So same video, but it's obviously everything is done in Spanish. And so that Spanish video will live in the same environment. So when you pull up that landing page and you see the English video, there will be directions where you can get to your Spanish video if you want to watch it right away, or it will lead you to look at the Spanish after the English one completes. The nice thing about this, we get this question a lot. Well, how do I determine who gets a Spanish video? Every video that we do in English, we're going to do in Spanish. And so you don't need to worry about, oh, I need to send a Spanish video. No, it's going to live there, and everybody who wants to see it in Spanish can.
And this would be a good one to wrap it up with as we get to the top of the hour. We're interested. How long is the process and how do we start?
I guess I'll answer that too. And Kiana can talk about it on her end, but usually it's a 10 to 12 week implementation period from the time that it's kicked off. I mean, usually with Spanish, we can expect an additional week or two of production time because you've got to um, be able to approve a Spanish video that we do and Spanish samples that we do. And so all this is done very deliberately in terms of making sure the accuracy is there on our side before sample videos are even given for the institution to look at it. But certainly that process will happen. But yeah, usually 10 to 12 weeks by the time we do all the production, make sure we've gone through the sample video phase, and then proceed to launch.
Yeah, and how did you
Bring us
feel
to the
about the
end.
timeline?
Very, very easy, very manageable. Nancy from Ancora was keen on when I wanted to launch. She understood the mission about being first in inboxes, and having that competitive advantage. And so we simply worked backwards. The use of Basecamp to keep us on track was also something that I found particularly helpful from a project management perspective. And it also alerted me for when I needed to lean in on my team to ensure that we weren't missing key success markers.
Well, I love that we understood the assignment.
Good. And you got it.
Thank you.
Kayana,
We
thank
greatly
you so much
appreciate you.
for being with us today and sharing your insights.
My pleasure.
Thank
Well,
you.
yes,
Talk to
we
you soon.
appreciate it.
Congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
and your students and their families.
Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.